What is the price of fame? For Julia Roberts, America's sweetheart, the world's highest-paid actress, it wasn't just the loss of privacy. It was a betrayal that cut deeper than any tabloid headline, a secret wound from her past that threatened to overshadow her brightest smiles. We all know the laugh, the megawatt smile that launched 1,000 rom-coms, but behind that iconic grin lies a story very few know, a story not of rivalry or revenge, but of radical, almost unbelievable forgiveness. This is the untold chapter of Julia Roberts' life, a lesson from Hollywood that has nothing to do with the box office and everything to do with the human heart. To understand the depth of her forgiveness, we first have to go back to the beginning, the late 1980s. A young Julia Roberts arrives in Hollywood, a Georgia girl with big dreams and an even bigger talent. Her rise was meteoric. Mystic Pizza put her on the map. Steel Magnolias earned her an Oscar nomination. And then came 1990. Pretty Woman. Overnight, she wasn't just a star, she was a global phenomenon. The it girl. The smile was everywhere. But in the blinding glare of the spotlight, family dynamics can become complicated. Julia's father, Walter Roberts, co-founded the Atlanta Actors and Writers Workshop. Her mother, Betty, was a one-time secretary and actress. They divorced when Julia was just 4, and tragically, Walter died of cancer when she was 10. This left Betty to raise Julia, her brother Eric, and her sister Lisa, largely on her own. It was a tight-knit unit, forged in hardship. And then as Julia's star ascended, her mother did something that would create a rift for years. Betty married a man named Michael Moats. By all accounts, Moats was a challenging figure, but the real fracture, the unforgivable act in Julia's eyes, came from her older sister, Nancy. Nancy, Julia's half-sister from Betty's marriage to Moats, grew up in the shadow of Julia's colossal fame, and that shadow for her was a dark and lonely place. The world saw a fairy tale. Nancy felt the neglect, the constant comparison. The breaking point? Nancy began speaking to the press, not just casual comments, but deep, personal, and painful revelations about the family, about Julia, airing their private grievances and struggles in the very public pages of tabloids. For Julia, who fiercely guards her private life, this was the ultimate betrayal. The trust was shattered. A wall went up. For years, the sisters were estranged, their relationship a silent, painful casualty of fame. Life, as it so often does, intervened in the most brutal way. In 2014, news broke that sent shockwaves through Hollywood and silenced the gossip columns. Nancy Moats was found dead in a Los Angeles bathtub. The cause of death was a drug overdose, ruled a suicide. In the notes she left behind, Nancy expressed deep feelings of depression and isolation, feelings she directly linked to her famous family. She wrote of feeling alone and unloved. For the public, it was a salacious story. For Julia Roberts, it was a devastating, life-altering tragedy. Imagine the whirlwind of emotions, the grief of losing a sibling, the guilt of a strained relationship, the anger of a past betrayal, and the relentless glare of the media dissecting every painful detail. This was the crucible in which Julia's forgiveness was forged. She was faced with a choice. She could let the bitterness and the what-ifs consume her, or she could find a path forward. And in that moment of profound sorrow, she chose a different route. In a rare and raw statement released after Nancy's death, Julia didn't lash out. She didn't defend herself. She said, and I quote, "It is with deep sadness that the family of Nancy Moats confirms that she was found dead in Los Angeles. The family is shocked and devastated. She framed it as a family tragedy, our sadness. The family is devastated. In her darkest hour, she chose unity over division. In a town known for its feuds, think Bette Davis and Joan Crawford, or even the more recent, very public celebrity splits, Julia's response was an anomaly. There was no public blame game, no cryptic social media posts. Instead, she turned inward, towards her own family, her husband Danny Motter, and their 3 children. This is where the real work of forgiveness happened, away from the cameras. Friends close to the Roberts Motor family have hinted that Julia underwent a significant personal transformation. She realized that holding on to the anger and pain from the past was only harming her present and jeopardizing her future happiness. Forgiveness, in her case, wasn't about condoning what happened or forgetting the pain. It was about freeing herself from the burden of that pain. It was a strategic, conscious decision for her own mental health and for the stability of her children. She didn't want her kids to grow up in the shadow of a family feud. This aligns with a growing, but still rare, trend in Hollywood. Look at Selena Gomez, who has spoken openly about forgiving her kidney donor, Francia Raisa, after a public falling out. Or Robert Downey Jr., who had to forgive his own past self to rebuild his career and life. It's the unglamorous hard work of healing that happens off screen. So, what does life look like after such a profound act of forgiveness? For Julia Roberts, it looks like peace. It looks like the serene smile we see on her today, one that seems to come from a deeper, more authentic place. She has managed to achieve the impossible in Hollywood, a long-lasting, stable marriage and a family life that is, by all accounts, remarkably normal and grounded. She didn't let the betrayal and subsequent tragedy define her. Instead, she used it as a catalyst to double down on what truly matters. Her career continues to flourish, but it's no longer the sole center of her universe. Her family is. This hard-won piece is perhaps her greatest success, far beyond any Oscar statue. In a culture that often rewards drama and retaliation, Julia Roberts chose a quieter, more powerful path. She chose to break the cycle. Julia Roberts' story of forgiveness isn't a glamorous Hollywood plot, it's a deeply human one. It reminds us that fame and fortune are no match for the fundamental challenges of family, heartache, and healing. Her journey teaches us that forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but a tremendous act of strength. It's the ultimate power move, choosing your own peace over perpetual conflict. So the next time you see Julia Roberts' iconic smile, you'll know it's not just the smile of a movie star. It's the smile of a woman who looked profound pain in the eye, chose to forgive, and found a brighter, more resilient joy on the other side. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the untold stories of your favorite stars. What other celebrity has a story of forgiveness you'd like us to cover? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, remember, sometimes the greatest drama happens off screen,